Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and
Rashid.
You know it's a sad world, man. And when people, you know what's so crazy about it though? And I know and I'm not perfect, man. I'm not saying because I mess up every.
What?
But you know what's crazy about it? Like all the time, like enjoying my life, bro, was crazy. Is that in the streets was good, right? But you know I had more fun and I enjoyed life more when I was following God, man. Like seriously, like even when going on drug binges and all that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I sit back and think about stuff, I said, damn, man, I enjoyed life more following God and doing what was right. That's the crazy part about it.
That's
people
crazy.
think that the life, the people think it's the life of using drugs and being a gangster. They think that's fun. But to tell you the truth, it's more fun over here to just come follow God. You're going to enjoy life better when you just following God.
Yeah.
And see, that's why I was trapped so many years,
What
good brother.
Like, wait. We got to rewind this and record this.
It's recording.
Oh, shagamaga. Okay.
Why'd you stop it, Dave?
Sorry. Keep going, Rashid.
Bad Dave.
Preach it, brother. Preach it. Go. Go, brother.
Yeah, so I just said, damn, if people would just really just focus on God, you would enjoy life better.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just want to be corrupted and follow the devil. And I can't be the one to judge, or judge nobody or talk about nobody because I come from that lifestyle, man. And I can't hold my nose up at nobody because God has helped me change and put good people up in my life. But
I don't think they think they're following the devil.
But Rashid, you just
convince them he doesn't exist.
Yeah, but Rashid, you just enjoy life more because now your circumstances are perfect, right?
Say perfect?
Yeah, you have perfect circumstances. You have a great job, lots of money, you have tons of friends. Everything's happy for you, and that's why you're happier following Jesus than being a gangster, right?
I think because of happiness, man. Happiness.
So you're saying your circumstances aren't perfect right now? You don't have like endless piles of money and stuff?
Oh, hell no. I don't have endless piles of money.
I think you probably have less money now than when you were a gangster, right?
Oh, yeah, I got less money now. Yeah. So, yeah, I got less money, but,
currently.
Currently, yeah. But I'm blessed. I'm messed up where I people, I ain't rich, but I ain't broke. So God blessed me to keep a roof over my head. I stay in a nice place. I got my business. I'm in trucking school, and it's going to get better. But, man, that's a dead life to live, man, when you think about it. And I really, man, it's so sad that when you see all them people out there, man, just living that lifestyle, like, damn, man, if y'all just come over here, man, the world will be, you'll feel so much better. You'll get so much done. And what I done learned in life is I've been going through a lot lately and stuff, you know what I'm saying, with school and COVID and stuff like that. But it seems like, man, God just tests your faith all the time. Like he done came through on some stuff for me. And it's like, the crazy part about it is he don't never let you go without, man. He don't never let you go hungry without a roof over your head or none of that stuff. He always keep money. He always bless you with money. You just really got to follow him, man, and just get on that straight path. Man. You know what I'm saying? But, but the world is just so caught up in and following the devil, and they think that's the right way. But really, it's a excuse my language, it's a bullshit way of life.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Welcome to the Rashid-cast. I mean, the Nevcast. It's the Nevcast. I don't really know where we started, but it's pretty awesome. And
my bad, I ain't mean to
no, it's not your bad at all. This is just fantastic. If you're just tuning in, welcome. And if you're listening to us for the first time, I'm Peter Nevland.
I'm Dave.
And
I'm Rashid Nevland, man.
I don't know. I might be Peter Ward.
Exactly. I'm Dave Ward. Yes, you are. What in the world?
Yes, that's
Man,
right.
dude,
Sons of God.
I used to think when I was a kid that I didn't really have a story unless I had lived that life, right? I mean, and came out of it. I mean, I just kind of discounted my little cocoon of safety and Holy Spirit activity and stuff, and thought that, man, the only way I could really have a story is if I go out and get it. And I never did. I never really wanted. It never really intrigued me so much that I had to go do that. I'd go get into whatever.
Drugs and alcohol and sex. That's what you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
That
Yeah.
kind of
now,
stuff.
rock and roll, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Now the rock and roll part. I mean, I can do that. We can do that.
Right,
We
right.
can do that, man. I mean,
But
like,
you have,
let's
but
go
see, that's
crazy,
the funny
man.
thing is you
But-
have so many stories, Dave. So I mean, first of all, you were a business owner as a teenager.
It's true.
You had a lawn business that you owned and successfully ran as a teenager, and then
And
you
sold.
were
We
sold it,
sort of.
and got some money for it, right?
We
had a
never told the
manager.
government. We didn't even know we're supposed to.
No,
Fuck, why didn't
well,
our parents even? They weren't.
I did. That's why we sold it, because I didn't want to have to deal with the government
Right.
going forward. But it actually wasn't that much of a big deal. So maybe we were gangsters, but not really. We were like going around mowing people's lawns and then telling them about Jesus and stuff. And then, I mean, what else? You went on like missions trip. You were in Latvia when the coup happened.
That's
and,
a pretty crazy story.
Right.
But I don't have a whole lot of story. But that's a crazy story.
You went to Austin. Before you went to Austin, you were leading worship like for a 1,000-person church and leading worship for like youth group. Like at times you would lead worship for the whole church.
Yeah, it wasn't
right. And you
1,000
were
people that I
writing
was leading,
songs. You were writing songs as a teenager.
Yeah.
And you had like there were probably like 1,500 people who knew you and thought you were like, the bee's knees, if I could say it. Rush, you might say it some other way. But where I come from, we I don't know.
I don't even know if we said the bee's knees because it was
we didn't
southern.
say the
That's
bee's
kind
knees.
of a northern expression.
That's true. Yeah,
But-
they thought he was the deal, the big cheese.
Well, I didn't feel like that, but
Well, of course you didn't. And then
I
you
was
went
oblivious.
to UT. You went to Austin, and you ended up starting. I mean, you were part of starting a group. You were the worship leader for starting a group that ended up becoming like this revival of people coming to Jesus, and went from 5 people to 120, 140 type people, and then a whole church, multiple churches were influenced, and you were traveling around teaching people about worship, and then you basically laid that all down, had a family, and you're a father of 3 kids. You worked for a grocery store. You were a courier, and then all of a sudden, immediately you became an audio engineer, and started producing radio ads with no experience, just because you had musical talent and some electronic talent, and you've been doing that now for how many years?
20 years.
And now you're starting this podcast. You've become this historian who probably knows more than just about anybody else in Austin about the history of music and slave spirituals in the United States and stuff like that. I mean, what do you mean you have no story?
There it is. There's the story right there.
That's a pretty amazing story. There's lots of stories
When you
within
tell
that
it
story.
like that, I suppose so.
Well, that's the thing, is all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
Rushy has a story too, right?
Yeah.
Gangster, and grew up, but even before he was a gangster, there was more to him than that. Rushy, you were an athlete, right? You were you ran track and what else did you do?
He was a DJ, man. He was a wordsmith too.
Track, boxing, football.
Yeah.
Not lacrosse. What was it? Badminton. I used to play badminton, all that.
Badminton.
Badminton.
I mean, Peter and I played badminton, but we just had our own little thing. We'd set up a net or whatever and try to figure it out. But you were in the league or something?
Yeah, well, they had a little league when I stayed on the East Coast in Maryland, in Columbia, Maryland. When I stayed out there, they used to have it was a little league badminton and stuff like that. So yeah, it was real popular on the East Coast.
Interesting.
And they got another thing up there called lacrosse.
Lacrosse,
Yes,
yeah.
Oh, I never played. Yeah, my brother played lacrosse. So you don't want to find it down south, but on the East Coast they play badminton out there.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
right,
crazy.
man.
play out there.
You
I've
know
watched it on the Olympics, man. It's kind of a crazy sport.
You know
really.
where else you find badminton? It's huge in Indonesia.
I was gonna say Wii Sports.
Well, I've been to Indonesia. I've been to in Sumatra and stuff,
Right.
and they have like badminton clubs. And
You
I
know-
mean, these guys, they are
You know why?
very good.
Why is it popular there? I think here's my theory why it's popular there, because this little shuttlecock, right, that you hit over the net and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's not going to go very far. It's not going to, if you hit the ball, like if like a tennis ball, right? If you don't have boundaries, man, that ball could just go flying off into the ocean. That's the
Yeah.
problem. So like Sumatra and all these islands and stuff like that, if you hit it too far, man, you're going to lose the ball. It's going to go into the water and go into the ocean. But the shuttlecock, man, you're going to lose it, even the hardest you hit it. So it can stay nice and tight there and stuff like that. Because on the islands, man, water's everywhere. So
I hope everyone out there is laughing because if
that's
you
my
don't know
theory.
my brother, you might think that he was actually serious and very
I might be.
ill-informed and not very astute.
Well, why does badminton get so popular on Fiji? It's popular on Fiji, like in island areas. Why is it so popular there? I don't know.
Have
did
you
that
ever
even
been to
happen?
like one of those islands? Because when you stand on the land of an island, you sort of forget that you're on an island. There's actually a lot of space for either a ball, a tennis ball, or a badminton shuttlecock to go anywhere.
Rashi, yeah, right, okay, right. Those are crowded islands. So crowded.
It's just like
That's right.
that's really ridiculous. So,
But it's not going to hurt somebody if the ball that hits, if a ball gets hit into the crowd that's all around everybody. A shuttlecock's not going to hurt them like a ball would. So
all right, so going back, my point was that we've all got so much more interesting stuff about us that people don't know that they haven't discovered. I mean, like
Right.
we just discovered. I had no idea, Rashid, that you played in badminton leagues growing up. That's not. I would not have guessed that, right? You
Yeah,
know,
I thought I told you that before.
maybe you did, but I forgot. I mean, that's crazy. The other stuff. I mean, I think about it. It's like so then you ended up going. I mean, you spent some time in prison, right? You got out of prison. Then what did you right away when you got out? You were doing something. You were like on working for a trucking line or something like that.
Yeah. I was working for a moving company.
Moving company. That's right.
company.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah,
got
well-
like stranded in New York, and
Oh, yeah.
you called me up
Yeah.
somehow. I think I paid your bus fare to get back to. Because I mean, I would have paid for a plane, but I couldn't afford it at the time. I didn't have any money myself. And then you came back to Austin, and you lived with me for a year and a half or something. And then you went to Houston. You got married, went to Houston, started a janitorial business. You have a janitorial business, and now you're like going through truck driving school. And at some point in there, like you gave your life to Jesus. I mean, that's a story. Is that not a
I
story?
know, no, but you're asking. I was wondering if you're asking him about this or if you're just telling him
Sort of.
or telling
No,
him.
it's true what he's saying. Yeah, I got up there. The guy stole my bread up there. One of the workers stole my bread out of New York, and I stayed with Peter. When R.I.P. to my mama, when my mama wouldn't let me stay with her, Peter was like, "Well, if I got a roof over my head, you always got a place to stay, buddy." So I went stayed with him and hung out with him. Got a job, started a detailing business,
Oh, that's
small
right.
detailing business.
Car detailing. That's right. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and then I came back home after probably like a year and a half. Got married, met a girl, fell in love with her, and got married. And came back to Houston, started the janitorial and stuff. And then after that, just been in trucking school a while, getting ready to finish that up here any day now. So
Yeah.
God finna help me finish that up.
So now I'm going somewhere with this. Now, I mean, for myself, right? Like, so I grew up,
You mean to do me?
You want to tell it? You can tell it.
I don't know. You can do it.
Yeah, I grew up, kind of like nerdy kid. I was
Yeah.
the smart kid in school, whatever.
Nerdy kid, but kept your side of the room pretty messy, and always like wake up real late and stuff
now
like
I'm
that.
very neat.
I know. I don't know what happened. You got
I
married.
don't know what happened. either.
That's
I
what
went
happened.
to
You got married.
college. I
But
got out
you
from
were-
under your
Don't-
thumb.
don't-
dude.
You're
don't-
kind of
don't leave
slovenly.
out, please. Don't leave- Don't leave out, Peter, when you joined us, the Black Disciples, man. So don't leave that up.
Black Disciples. Oh my goodness, you're hilarious.
When you came over there and got put out with us in the neighborhood. So
well, we haven't gotten there yet.
I'm getting there. So yeah, I was like, smart kid, but I also played.
Well, you were smart.
I also played
You're a
soccer,
little part of the smart
and I played
kid part.
softball.
Let me do a little bit of the smart kid thing, because this is your birthday's September 8th, and we were going to a private school, and you got allowed to go into kindergarten before you were 5 years old. You know, it was going to be like a week, right? But they bent the rules or whatever and allowed you to go into school a year early, basically.
Yeah.
But what that did was that no one knew. I mean, you could tell as a kindergartner, you were pretty. I mean, I came home every day from kindergarten and told you everything I learned, and you remembered it.
Sure.
So you were ahead when you got into kindergarten. But what that ended up doing is made you the youngest in your classes. All middle school, every class you were in. So you were the youngest, probably the smallest, and yet made better grades than anybody. That doesn't work. That combination is not great for the coolness factor for the the popularity.
Definitely
contest.
was the smallest guy on my soccer team and the smallest guy in my high school. I got picked on. I actually got peed on twice when I was on the soccer team.
That ends
high
up being
school.
a good story.
That was a good story. And that guy came to me at my 10-year high school reunion, looking up to me, and asked if I would forgive him for what he did, which he had asked me, whatever it was, 13 years prior, after he had done it. We had become friends, and I guess he'd forgotten that we became friends, but I guess he felt even more remorse at our high school reunion, and then we sat next to each other. It was pretty cool, and I got to tell him, hey, man, you're forgiven. I just want to let you know. I mean, you're forgiven. And, that you might have meant that for bad at the time, but God used that in my life and all this stuff. Well, and so
he forgot because your 10-year reunion was before Facebook existed. Otherwise, all that stuff would have, occurred probably over Facebook.
Right about the time Facebook was
2003.
So yeah, but I mean, so then I get out of high school. I come down to Austin as well to go to college at UT. Get a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, a master's in material science and engineering.
Double major.
Worked for Applied Materials.
Double master?
Had an internship with Applied Materials. Did some work with enhanced ductility of commercial aluminum alloys.
Which is now what they make the trucks out of.
Yeah, that's true, and a lot of cars and everything. And so then, I worked for Motorola for a few years, and then I left Motorola, seemingly all of a sudden. But I started writing in university, right? My freshman year of college, started writing, continued writing, started performing at art festivals and then poetry slams and spoken word things.
We'll get into this further with the art and the church kind of a thing. But at that time, me and eventually this other guy, David Taylor, started an arts movement at the church we were going to, and started just trying to cull people and give people platforms to do other things besides just lead worship.
Yeah, I was one of them.
You were one of them.
I was one of them, and so then I left my job at Motorola to be a full-time spoken word artist
because of the lucrative.
So much money.
Yeah.
I toured the world doing that. Performed on every continent except Antarctica and South America with mostly with this guy Paul Finley, and some just by myself. And then later Paul and I stopped touring. I got married. My wife and I started touring, but then I got invited to be a partner with the same group that you produce radio ads for, with the Wizard of Ads, with Roy Williams, and now I'm a marketing consultant and I advise businesses, and
on their message strategy.
So I mean, all that stuff, like each story, your story, Rashi's story, my story, has all these different facets of that journey and all these different things that we've done, we've let go of, maybe we picked up again, maybe we didn't. We met people, had relationships with people. Some of them lasted, some of them didn't last. So I guess my question is, most people believe that if you have a big career change, which if you hear all those stories, they all sound like there were a lot of big career changes, right? Am I right?
I guess so.
Am I mistaken in that? That all sounds like there's a lot of big changes that happen there. At any one of those points, in that big change, did you hear God saying distinctly, David or Rashi, you must now start a janitorial franchise, or Dave, you must now let go of the worship leading and just be a father?
Well,
But did you hear that? Did you guys hear that?
No,
no, but kind of.
Kind of like,
At
okay,
times.
so tell me the kind of, because now that makes me interested.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, there was, there were questions. Okay, am I going to keep doing? Is this worship leading thing going to go on to, a bigger platform or stage or more people, or how's that going to transform? And or the songwriting part of it, like, how's that going to happen? And early into having kids, there just was not the time to do that. I mean, in order to do that, I would have had to pull away from Amy and the kids to do it.
Yeah.
And their inspiration would still come, and I'd still write some stuff and try to, I don't know, record it here and there or whatever, and try to do stuff with it. It was tougher to get the momentum going, but I definitely there was this time when I really felt God say, hey man, the 3 kids you have, those are your songs. Those are your 3 long songs. I know, right?
Rashi, are you crying?
That was a big.
That's beautiful, right?
That was a big revelation.
Right.
I was like, yeah, man, they're my songs.
They are your songs. Yeah.
And and I hope they turned out to be really good ones.
That's right. They are. I know them.
Yeah.
I know them, and they're not perfect, but who is?
And they're good.
Right?
And
but they're amazing. They're wonderful.
And Rosemary, she won't show me this song, but supposedly she has written a song, and like most songwriters, after a couple weeks, she doesn't like it anymore. But she showed it to her friend, and her friend's like, "You should tell your dad because maybe he can help you with it." And she's just embarrassed to show me.
Yeah, sure. That's amazing.
But she's getting it, and we were just watching. Golly, we watched some cartoons and stuff, new cartoons and stuff like that. Older kid cartoons and stuff like that are coming out of different places. And yet last night I was like, kids, y'all need to start writing some stories. Y'all need to write some stories because we got to have something better than what's coming out of these. What they're saying in these stories. But,
so when you heard that voice say to you, hey, your 3 kids, they're your songs. What did that sound like? What was that like?
Oh, it was a breath of air. It was a breath of fresh air. I mean, it was just like, yes. Oh.
I mean, was it loud? Was it quiet? Was it,
right.
When was it? Was it in the middle of the night? Was it during the day?
Right, that's right. It was in the night. I mean, it was in the night or in the morning or something. It was in that state between sleep and being awake when I get the strongest impressions.
And you had to pay attention to it?
I couldn't.
Did it knock you over?
I couldn't get away from it. I was like, oh yes. I mean, it brought me to tears. I was like, yes, that's what I need. That's what I need to hear.
It was like inside you? It was like almost part of your heart?
It was more real than what I could hear.
Interesting.
Right? Because the word sound only exists in the air mixture ratio that's within 10 miles above the Earth's surface. And compared to the Earth, that's like 1 sheet of paper in a ream of 500 sheets of paper. It's very thin.
Okay.
That's the analogy. The atmosphere. That's right. That's the only place where sonic sound that our ears can translate into words and the vibrations can translate into sound and then meaning into our minds. That's the only place where that exists. Anyways, we have to go live in a little fishbowl if we're in the space and stuff like that. We have to wear these.
But this wasn't necessarily that sound.
So God is not confined to that space as far as his voice. Right? He speaks way stronger. Than just your ears being able to hear.
So Rashi, when you heard God's voice, that spoke to you to change what you were doing. What was that voice like?
It's like you can't really hear it like out loud, but it's like you can just God speak to you he speaks to you and you can hear it. So like, say for instance, I'm gonna give you a story one time, a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
I was reset for a court date that I had to go on an aggravated assault that I had, right?
Yeah.
So this is back, I think in the 90s. I think in the 90s. It's been so long ago, 2090. I don't remember exactly, but I was out on bond, going back and forth to court on this aggravated assault charge, and my date was like for like January the 21st or January the 22nd, but it was in December, and I was with my brothers and stuff. And I know for sure that this was what my court date was, man. I know for sure because I wrote it down. I'm like, I don't want to, get in any trouble. So we was riding, and time we pulled up to this place getting ready to get something to eat, the laws pull us over. So when the laws pull us over, they jacked us all up out the car and they started running our names and stuff. So I'm not really worried about nothing. But they came and they grabbed me up and they said, well, Mr. Ward, you have a warrant. You missed court. I was like, nah, man. I said, my court date is not to January. I got reset to January 21st. They said, no, this is, we got a warrant for you. So make a long story short, they took me to jail, sit in jail for about 2 to 3 days straight. And I was laying on my bunk and I was just mad. I'm like, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything right. And they just gonna send me to jail because of they messed up. So when I was laying on my bunk that night, this is no lie, a voice told me, it said, it was at nighttime. It said, go to sleep. Don't worry about nothing. It says, I'm going to get you out of here in the morning and you're going to go home and be with your family. This is no lie. I swear to God on this.
Yeah.
The next morning I woke up and was getting ready to eat my breakfast. I grabbed my tray. They was bringing our trays through there. I was getting ready to eat my tray. And they came and they said, Mr. Wood, pack your stuff. You're going home. And I'm like, what the hell? But it was weird that night that I was sitting in my bed that night, and I know that was God because I prayed. I was like, God, I prayed. And that was one thing that I did. I prayed that night. I said, God, why are you letting me go through this? I'm trying to do what's right. And he just told me that night. So that's how I know God. That's my story of knowing that God can really speak to you. And I swear that's a true story right there. And they let me out. They had let me out that morning and
did they apologize?
Go to the house.
Did they apologize?
Oh no. They didn't apologize.
They just said, you're going home. All right. Well, great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're going home. And they actually, after that, about like right before that court date that I had to go, they actually dropped the charges.
Interesting. Wow. That's crazy. Well, and
kind of like an apology.
Well, see, I mean, even let's say in my own, right? It's like my own story. I'm thinking like when I was an engineer, I remember, so I was performing at an arts festival. I was running around on stage barefoot with some blue shorts that had gray flames on the side, performing a poem. And I was running around in a circle faster and faster while I was reciting this poem on stage. And I thought in the middle of doing all that, saying words real fast, I had this thought in my head, this is where I feel home. I feel like I'm home here on stage, performing, being crazy in front of a bunch of people. And so then I thought, I would love to do this full time. Well, so then I'm working at Motorola, and I'm talking to this guy. His name's John Vanderslice, and he'd always take smoke breaks because he was from Chicago. And he said, yeah, I'm from Chicago. We don't trust air that we can't see. And so he'd go outside and take a smoke break. Anyway, he comes back in this one time. We were in the laser repair department of Motorola, and he would say, he goes, you're not going to be here longer than 6 months. I was like, what do you mean, John? What do you mean I'm not going to be here longer than 6 months? And he goes, something's going to happen. I said, they like paid me a bunch of money to stay. They paid me like a 2-year contract to stay. He's like, yeah, you know, something's going to happen. You're going to be gone in a few months. I don't know what's going to be. And I was like, okay, all right. You know, I just kind of kept it in mind. And then I remember they announced not too long after that our whole department was getting shut down. And I had prayed. I had said, God, if you want me, I want to do this spoken word thing full time. And if that's what you want me to do, then I ask that you would make it so I'm going to do it at the end of my 2-year deal. And if you want it to be sooner, then make it so that I don't have to pay them back the money that they paid me to stay for the 2 years. And then you still gotta, you know, you gotta come through and provide for me and stuff. Well, so this was before that 2 years was up. They announced our factory was going to be shutting down, and I wasn't getting interviews with any other departments in Motorola. And I went to this like seminar workshop thing on a weekend as a Christian artists gathering. And this guy said, I feel like there's something you're worried about your job and stuff. God wants you to know, don't worry about it. He's got something better for you. And then I realized right then, I was like, if I don't get a job anywhere else and I tell them I want to stay at my department, they'll lay me off. And not only will I not have to pay them back the money that they paid me to stay here for 2 years, they'll pay me more money to leave. I was like, crap, God's given me better than what I asked him for. I guess it's on. I guess it's time for me to leave Motorola. So I went in and I told them I don't want to leave my department. And I'm like, great. Pretty soon after that, they announced their layoffs. I'm one of the people who's getting laid off. I go in, thank you so much for the opportunity to work here. You guys have been great authority in my life. You've blessed me so much. I just bless you. Thank you. I'm going to go do this stuff. And they were like, you know, we have security escorting everybody else out of the building, but I don't think you really need that, Peter. So thank you so much. You've been a great employee here. We'll see you later. And I walked out all happy. I never heard any. You guys both had stories of, you know, I had a little still small voice talk to me whenever, like, I stopped touring, you know, but that was after my wife talked to me. So I seem to get other people talk to me first. And I hear God speaking to me in what other people are saying. And then it usually God follows up later. He's basically, it's like, now that I've got your attention, I need to tell you some more about this. Let me just encourage you. I just think it's interesting that none of us, I think people so often expect that if I'm going to pray, I'm going to hear God's voice in this big, huge, tangible way. But in reality, most of the time, God speaks in this still, quiet voice or through someone else or even through an experience, and you just know it deep inside of you. You wouldn't even need the atmosphere, that little thin sheet of paper compared to the large vacuum of space that you talked about. You don't even need the air to hear his voice because his word is not bound by our laws of physics.
Yeah.
It can go anywhere, and he leads us. I mean, even, you know, what, the burning bush, I heard this talked about, right? You heard about, you know, Rashi, you know the story of the burning bush and Moses and the burning bush?
I never heard that story. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, so you know when Moses, he fled from Egypt, right?
It's good. It's in the book of Exodus. You got to look it up.
Yeah, he killed an Egyptian. He flees from Egypt. He becomes a shepherd, and is a shepherd in the you know, wilderness for 40 years. And at the end of this 40 years, he's out with a sheep one day, and it says he saw a bush, not a tree, not a gigantic, enormous flame of fire on a mountain. He saw a little bush.
There aren't those in the desert.
That was burning, but the bush was not being consumed by the fire. And it says he turned aside to see it. So he had to stop what he was doing, go and check it out. And then it says a voice spoke to him. And when I read it in to my kids, the Jesus Storybook Bible, they say a big booming voice spoke to him. But in the Bible, it's actually the same word used for the same voice that spoke to Elijah, the still small voice, the whisper. And so it was like God went, Moses,
Right.
I've called you to let my people go. My people, I've heard my people's cries in the wilderness, you know, calling out to me out of slavery and bondage. and I'm calling you to go to them and set them free. And it's amazing what happened after that. Moses didn't go, yes, sir, God. He goes, he argues.
Yeah, right.
He argued with
With
God,
a burning bush, he argues.
which is very like us.
After he agreed to take his sandals off.
Yeah, right?
It's like, okay.
So
Why
I
didn't
just
you argue about that?
all that to say, if that's Moses, and Moses is like Moses,
hot.
patriarch of a
No.
couple of cultures,
Story's never like that.
your story is just as valid as his. I mean,
Right.
God told Abraham to go sacrifice his son. It just says he went and did it. He didn't argue. So I guess Abraham's better than Moses.
Maybe.
But then Abraham ended up, he argued before that because he was like, well, maybe I got to make this happen and get someone other than Sarah. And so he married another woman. And that's kind of messed up, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or
Yeah.
it was not.
Just
he
saying,
didn't
hearing the
marry
voice
her
of God
either.
is not like this. If you mistake the voice of God, you're in good company, because we've all missed it at some points. And if you've ever listened to the voice of the Lord, like, that's a good thing too. That's a good thing, because that means that you're paying attention to him. The really bad thing is if you stop paying attention and you stop listening and you think you know what God is saying. That's when you're in trouble, because then you become deaf to his real voice, because his voice a lot of times isn't comfortable. It doesn't confirm your cultural predispositions. A lot of times he calls you to do something completely different than you expected. And, you end up being a marketing consultant or an ad producer or, a truck driver, rather than being an engineer or a worship leader or a successful badminton player, DJ or whatever. You know what I mean? Right?
Right. I think God give us discernment, man, to judge between what's right and what's wrong. So, like he say, the sheep hear my voice, but when they hear the thieves' voice, they run. But when they hear my voice, they know. Like, you will know God's voice versus, like, you hear something telling you, man, that old lady just laid that $15,000 down over there in the credit union. Go pick it up, man. You know you need that extra money. Versus you tell me, get that $15,000 and go take it back to that old woman. You're gonna know that you gonna know that that's the devil's voice telling you to keep it. You gonna know it's God's voice telling you to to bring it back to the old lady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So God give us that gift. I believe this. God is gonna always protect us as long as we follow Him, man. So He gonna always give you that. He gonna give you that voice. Gonna speak to you and let you know, don't do this and don't go over here. I think sometimes as humans, we take it upon ourselves to to deny that voice. Like, you ever heard a person be like, man, damn, I was in prison with a cat, and he told me, man, he said a voice kept telling him to don't go with his homeboy, to go somewhere, right? And the voice was telling him, no, don't go with that dude. He said this voice kept telling him, don't do it. Well, make a long story short, he went on and rode with his partner, and his partner went to a store and robbed the store, shot the dude, killed him up in there, and he got a capital murder charge.
Right.
And he got 99 years in prison for that, because it was capital murder, because he was in the process of robbing a store. But if he was just listening to that voice, they was telling him, no, don't go with dude bad. That was God speaking to him. So I figured out we start knowing the voices and knowing that it's God, we got to start listening to it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because He gonna always, God ain't gonna never let nothing happen to us as long as we stay connected with Him. And I know that because I know that through experience.
Yeah.
Like, just through experience with following God, and sometimes, what's so crazy about it is, sometimes you wonder and you ask yourself, like, why the hell do you do this for me, God? Like, when all this stuff I done did and how I just, how I defied you for so many years, and He still help you out, and He still have mercy on you and help you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
He still help you out and do for you. And you be like, well, sometimes I feel like I don't even deserve stuff that He give to me.
That's
I don't
true.
even feel worthy of it because of the stuff that I done done.
Sometimes.
You know, the things that I done did, the people I done harmed in life
Sure.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you
me
know,
too.
so
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So, man, learning how to hear the voice of God. He's promised to help us, and He's going to help us. And we promise that we're going to. I mean, he's promised to make our story better than we could have made it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we promise that we're going to be come back on here next week and talk about some more of this. And in the meantime, your story is going to get better.
Yeah. If you've got stories, send them to us. I'd
Yeah,
love to
that's
hear
right.
your stories of how you've heard the voice of God, how He speaks to you, stuff that He's done in your life, or maybe even how you feel like you don't deserve to hear it. Because we'd love to talk to you and encourage you. Because I mean, your story is just as powerful, if not more so, than ours. We'd love to know what it is. So
Right on, right on.
join us next time on the Nevcast. Where do you find us? iTunes,
Streaming
Spotify.
services, Spotify.
and Nevcast.com. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.